And that's perfectly segueing into kind of a fun topic for me, which is to break down, in my opinion, the top 5 NBA shooters of all time. It's only fitting that on, or the night after Steph Curry breaks the all-time three-pointers made record, to give my take on the top 5 shooters of all time in the NBA. This is tough. So I want to give first some honorable mentions because I know I'm not going to mention them in my top 5 and they may garner a lot of attention, but I need to draw a distinction here. So when it comes to the honorable mentions, I have to give shout outs first to Kyle Korver, Dale Ellis, and JJ Redick. I think that those guys would be worthy of making a list like this. Do I have them in my top 5? No, but it's a very subjective thing. And then when it comes to kind of the Kevin Durant's, the Larry Birds, the Damian Lillard, the James Harden, those guys, they have a sweet stroke, but they're more of elite scorers as opposed to predominantly known as being an elite shooter. And I think that there is a difference and and it distinguishes between them and that. So at number 5, I'm going with the pops of Steph Curry, Del Curry. People don't really remember Del Curry much, but this is a guy who at one point for the longest time was the Charlotte Hornets' all-time leader in points. He still is the leader in most three-pointers made. And he played in an era from 1986 to 2002 where the three-point shot wasn't as coveted, wasn't as valued, but his stroke was one of the most beautiful, pure shots in the NBA that we've ever seen. And what distinguished him, in my mind, to those guys like Kyle Korver and to a lesser extent Dale Ellis and even JJ Redick is because, yes, he was an elite spot-up shooter, but this is a guy who could do much more than that. He could drive it to the rim occasionally if you run him off the three-point line. So he wasn't simply a shooter in my mind, but his stroke was absolutely drop dead gorgeous. So I have him at number 5. At number 4, I've got Reggie Miller. It's not just the fact that he's a UCLA alum, and I've got Westbrook's jersey right behind me, so I'm a UCLA fan, but it's because he averaged 39.5% for his career from the three-point line over the course of 18 seasons, averaged 18 points. But this was the first guy to come around. Not only has he made the third most threes in NBA history, but he was the first player to come around who was not only an elite scorer, an elite shooting guard, but an elite three-point shooter as well. His footwork was impeccable. The way he came off screens, he was fearless. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Knicks in 1995, 8 points in 9 seconds. Spike Lee, I think, had a cardiac arrest in Madison Square Garden. That's who Reggie Miller was. The guy was absolutely fearless, and yet at that time, very similar timeline to Del Curry, people didn't appreciate the three-point shot nearly as much. And I have him at number 4. At number 3, and I think that this is subject to change, you can make a strong argument that Klay Thompson should be number 2. The only reason I have him number 3 right now is because the guy I have listed ahead of him at number 2 has played a lot longer. So this is more of a longevity achievement at this point. Klay Thompson, though, can make a strong case to be number 2, and eventually I may push him up to number 2, but the fact of the matter is, regardless, he's a top 3 shooter of all time. This guy is, for his career, a 42% three-point shooter over the course of 8 seasons in which he's actually played. He's extremely clutch. The guy can heat up faster than anyone I've ever seen. He's got the quickest release from 3 in NBA history. He dropped, obviously, 14 three-pointers in an individual game, 37 points in an individual quarter against the Kings. And he set an NBA playoff record making 11 threes in an elimination game. Game 6 of the 2016 Western Conference Finals, when the Warriors and the Oklahoma City Thunder battled it out in one of the best Western Conference series of all time, in my opinion. It went the distance. Game 6 on the road, Klay Thompson, 41 points, 11 three-pointers in an elimination game at Chesapeake Energy Arena in that hostile crowd. Klay Thompson is amazing. And he's an elite scorer who can also shoot the 3. He can get great elevation. He's got tremendous release. The only reason, again, why I don't have him number 2 is just for the duration that he's been in the NBA. Outside of that, I would say that he probably will eventually move up to number 2 in my book. But right now, I have to have him at number 3 because the guy I have at number 2 is Jesus Shuttleworth, a.k.a. Ray Allen. Ray Allen was an unbelievable three-point specialist, but that's the thing about him over 19 seasons, really. A career 40% three-point shooter, but he was much more than simply a spot-up shooter. This was a guy who came off screens, off curls, perhaps better than anyone. He got his shoulders squared. I think the best that I've ever seen an NBA shooter get their shoulders squared. That's how you get that three-point shot off. You have to be balanced. Your footwork's got to be tremendous. Oh, the Wi-Fi cut off for a minute, but we're back. Apologies for that. So he had obviously just set the three-point mark. He was the torchbearer for a decade, and he was one of the clutchest three-point shooters that we had ever seen. That Game 6 shot with the Miami Heat against the San Antonio Spurs to force the game into overtime was perhaps the clutchest shot we've ever seen, at least in NBA Finals history. It was arguably the clutchest shot in NBA history. That's how profound of an impact that he had. That's how special that he was. I mean, again, over the course of his 19 seasons, 40% from the three-point line, and he was an athlete. People forget about the bounce of Ray Allen. This guy had hops. This guy was an absolute athlete. And to see him be able to accomplish all that he did was truly special. And so I have him at number 2. Of course, no surprise here at number 1, Steph Curry. We just saw him pass Ray Allen and break his record to set the all-time three-pointers made list. As this is falling down behind me, even that can't believe it. We'll drop it off. Don't worry about it. It's fantastic. Steph Curry, he revolutionized the game. But again, what's impressive is the fact that he accomplished this feat in 511 fewer games than Ray Allen. Ray Allen played in the league for 19 seasons. Steph Curry is in his 13th season. He's not even halfway into his 13th season. And yet he's already setting these marks. And again, it's not just it's his ability to score the three in a myriad of ways that makes him so special and so unique. He can spot up, he can come off screens, he can cross you up, he can step back, he can pull up one dribble, pull up in transition. He can create his own three-point shot. He's got limitless range. Right when he steps past half court, he is a legitimate threat to score. The second he steps past half court, he's a threat. The guy has shot over 43% for his career from the three-point line, 43% for his career. And yet what's probably most impressive is not just the fact that he's maintained that level of consistency, but it's the fact that every single season, the volume of three-point shots that he's been attempting has increased along the way. So he's shooting 43%, but the average number of threes he's taking per season is increasing. When he entered the league, he averaged about 4 3-pointers a game. When he was winning his MVP, he was averaging about somewhere between 6 to 9 and 10 3-point shots a game. Now, the guy's averaging about 13 and a half 3-point shots per game, but his efficiency is exactly the same. And that's the true mark of a great shooter because he is the standard now. Steph Curry is the standard. When we look at guys coming into the league now and we say this guy's an elite three-point shooter or this guy's an elite three-point shooter, we compare them to Steph Curry. And if that's not paying someone the ultimate compliment, then I don't know what is. And again, to see him be able to do that last night in Madison Square Garden was truly special. It was truly special.